Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a RAKSHASA'S Great Katana build guide in Elden Ring. Now this is a new weapon in the DLC and it's got this cool weed cutter weapon art here, which is pretty useful because it hits in a huge area. I'll be going through the full leveling guide, so if you're not level 150, you probably should be for the DLC, but we want to get our vigor up to at least 50. Ideally get it up to 30 first, but then 50 next. 24 mind. We go with 40 endurance, which allows us to be pretty, get a lot of attacks in combat. I went 14 strength, which is a minimum requirement to hold the Great Katana, but this one is a little bit lower with only 12, so you can take those 2 points, put them in dexterity. I took dexterity up to 60, 15 faith, and 16 arcane, which will give us some pretty useful incantations that go very well with this, so that's why I also got the Dragon Communion Seal here. I went with all of RAKSHASA'S armor here just for the drip, but you can go with the white mask because being able to get extra damage after bleed is huge and it works very well on this build, so I'm going to throw that on just for the stacking that it actually does stack with the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. So anytime you're running a bleed build, it's probably best to have both of these on because blood loss in the vicinity will increase attack power, so you can get a huge buff to your damage once you trigger bleed. I also got the Great Jar Arsenal, Shard of Alexander to boost the weapon skill, and the Dragon Crest Great Shield to reduce damage, but you can swap that out depending on what type of damage you're faced against. But I'll be showing you this full build here and the basic way of playing it. So we typically want to start off with Flame Grant Me Strength, as this is going to boost up our damage. And I also like to do a couple casting of Swarm of Flies to draw the enemy towards us, because this can proc our bleed, as you can see there. And then once we proc the bleed, we're able to use our awesome weapon art to deal a bunch of extra damage. So this is just one-shotting all these enemies, which is just crazy. This weapon does a ton of damage, so that's the nice thing about it, is you got a huge area of effect. We're just mowing down everything in our way, and you can use the weapon art to just clear out paths of enemies. So we typically want to get the blood loss proc before we go into combat, so we can literally just use the Swarm of Flies. I would cast it a couple times and maybe run backwards a little bit because it'll draw them in, and then once they got the bleed on them, then we can deal a bunch of extra damage. Flame Grant Me Strength has worn off. Unfortunately, Flame Grant Me Strength does wear off pretty quickly, so that is the only downside to it. But even still, we're doing a ton of damage with this. It's a very powerful weapon, so I'm just going to go refresh these enemies here and show you again another way of we can take them down. That weed cutter is super useful, especially if you're getting ganked by a bunch of enemies, because it's got a wide radius of attack, so that is something that's nice about it, because you can hit multiple of them. So we can start with the Swarm of Flies, and then even just go with Flame Grant Me Strength there. So we got both our bleed damage boost as well as our Flame Grant Me Strength damage. So we can just single attack 1300 damage. 1300 damage. Like, it's pretty crazy what we can do with this. And yeah, we're mostly one-shotting these enemies or two-shotting them. That's pretty crazy. So my favorite part about it is the weapon art, because it's just super effective for a wide variety of things. You can literally just spam this and you're going to be good because it's got such a large reach. I'm going to get attacked. There we go. So these guys are annoying to deal with, but yeah, there we go. I was going to say I'm going to get jumped there. The nice thing about this weapon, though, is it hits in such a large area of effect that you're going to take out most things that come at you quickly. Although those Albinarics do have that really fast bleed attack that just took me out there. So unfortunately, things like that do happen. But the best part about this build is we can deal a ton of damage with our attacks. So dropping a Swarm of Flies and then running in and dealing the damage after our blood loss is triggered is incredible. So you can see there, 1689. That's a lot of damage for an attack. So that is the nice thing about this. Huge area of effect and huge damage. There's a lot to love with this. You can also two-hand the weapon. It has a bit of a different weapon attack. So we got a thrust on the R2, so that's nice. But it's a little bit quicker whenever you attack with it two-handed, so I'd recommend two-handing it. You also have that sprint attack, which is a nice little stab. So yeah, two-handing it has that for its sprint attack, whereas if you normally don't, I guess it's still a stab, but a very effective weapon, and you can charge up the damage. It's incredibly powerful. So that's RAKSHASA'S Great Katana. The damage in comparison to the Keen Great Katana, it deals quite a bit more damage. Like, you're actually getting a lot more from it. And this is Keen Great Katana, so even with the build optimized for it, the RAKSHASA'S Great Katana still just deals a bit more damage. So very powerful weapon in Elden Ring, and a fun one to use too. It looks like the Rivers of Blood, but bigger, but it's not. It's its own unique beast, and The physical damage that this deals is incredible. So there it is, Rakshasa'S Great Katana in Elden Ring. Let me know if this video is useful. Please hit the subscribe button below if you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.